So, are the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 4s worth buying? Well, just one word.
Namaste, we're DHRME. Doesn't hate reviewing many earbuds?
In many ways, this is a very minor iteration on the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 3. Those were pretty good earbuds. We'll also be comparing these now and then to the Sony WF-1000XM5, the Denon Pro, the Huawei FreeBuds Pro 3. So make sure that you watch the whole video. That also gives us more watch time, to be honest. Now, Sennheiser claims 7.5 hours of battery life on the buds, and we were disappointed. We got 7 hours and 25 minutes. So yes, Sennheiser is right on point with its numbers, and what good numbers they are too. We tested it with ANC on and aptX lossless on. You might even hit higher numbers on lower resolution mode. So overall, we're satisfied with this situation. What about the charging situation?
Now, USB-C and wireless charging is still on board.
Now, in terms of the physical design, the case is still the same as the Momentum 3, similar chunky case. The buds are on the chunky side. The Sony WF-1000XM5, for example, is much smaller than these case, and volume-wise, we would say these are about the size of the Denon Pro. And the funny thing was, you could even put the buds of the Momentum 4 in the case of the Momentum 3s because the magnet and pin placement is exactly the same. I don't know if they charge or they work, but it is what it is. We're really digging this black copper color on the Momentum 4s that Sennheiser sent us. Other than that, it's got all the things you would expect of a flagship. Wireless Qi charging, touch controls. The touch controls are exactly the same again as the Momentum 3, but they're very responsive, very customizable. You can change everything. Touch and hold is for volume, for example. Transparency is weirdly a mode on top of ANC. We'll get to that in a bit, but overall very satisfied about the touching situation here. Also about the wet and dirty situation, we're really satisfied because it's IP54 rated, just the buds mind you, not the case. So you can get nice and wet and dirty while working out or working in.
In terms of comfort, they're identical to the Momentum True Wireless 3. Chunky bud style. You get 4 sizes of tips in the box and 3 sizes of ear fins for stability. The ear tips have slightly different perforations to deal with human earwax production. Other than that, nothing new. So if the 3 were comfortable, the 4 will be too.
But what about microphone quality? Well, we went out in noisy and windy conditions to pit these against some of the most popular earbuds and one of the best ones we think for microphones. The full samples are available for our Icicle Plus tier supporters, and thank you guys for supporting us. But here's a taste of our popsicles, of our icicles, and of our test.
Popsicle. Icicle. Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Now there is good news, guys, right? These are a considerable step up from Gen 3 when it comes to noise suppression on the microphones. Although that sometimes comes at the cost of the voice itself, but on balance, I'd much rather prefer hearing the Momentum 4 for longer periods of time than the Momentum 3. Also for wind, it handled it like a champ. It beat Gen 3 comfortably, but also Sony's newest offering, the Sony WF-1000XM5. What it couldn't beat was our reigning microphone champion, the Huawei FreeBuds Pro 3. Those mics are in a completely different league. There are times where you think that the sound is coming from studio microphones, not wireless earbuds. Incredible stuff. As a fuckman, you ain't gonna be complaining. You can answer, hang up, change volume, and even mute calls directly from the buds. The only thing you can't do is get into transparency mode or ANC mode. But unlike media controls, you cannot change what the touch controls do on phone calls. What Senny gives you is what you get.
Alright, ANC and transparency. The transparency of the Momentum 3 was both very good and not great at the same time. And the Momentum 4 continues that legacy. We think that Sennheiser knows that, which is why the transparency is not completely turned up all the way by default. The transparency in terms of what you hear of your environment is good. A very usable volume and frequency range. Not AirPods Pro level, but still quite good. But here's the downside. The white noise continues. The whooshing can get disconcerting if you use these in a quiet space, if that kind of thing bothers you. Turning it up to max makes the white noise even whooshier. So on balance, we're going to have to bump it down a tier again, tier A. If they fix that hissing issue, it'd be an easy tier S. But it turns out that not many companies can get close to Apple on this.
And if the transparency hiss was a whooshing waterfall, the ANC hiss is more like your neighbor taking a shower through thin walls. There's still a fair bit of hiss you get with ANC on. Unlike Transparency, you don't get any adjustability with the slider on noise cancelling though. Sennheiser claims that its ANC is adaptive, so ideally it should ramp up and down based on environmental noise. You can thankfully turn it off if you don't want the ANC at all. Sennheiser also continues to give us wind noise cancelling or anti-wind, which we dig. Cycling around in here as we do in the Netherlands, this is something we definitely appreciate. Oh, the buds also remember the last noise cancelling setting that you used, and you can switch between noise cancelling on and ANC off using a triple tap on the left earbud. This is different from the single tap on the left earbud which switches transparency mode on or off. It's a bit confusing if you've used other buds, but Sennheiser's done this for a while and you know what, you kind of get used to it. So Kevin, how does the active noise cancelling do?
The noise cancelling on the Momentum 4 is slightly better than the Momentum True Wireless 3 on the low end. It's not a generational leap like the 3 was compared to the 2, but it's there. We'd put it in the same league as the Sony WF-1000XM5, but there's a bit more high-end compared to the Sony. Overall, we put this at the bottom of Tier S, and these are worth it for the price bracket they live in. Alright, let's talk extras.
Sorry Kevin, just wanted to say the Smart Control app continues to impress with everything that Sennheiser brings to the table, which we'll talk about. Nothing new from the Momentum 3s again, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. You also get a wear sensor to play or pause your music when you take them out of your ear, just like on Gen 3.
You get a low latency mode in the app for you gamers out there. There is multi-point support, so it can stay connected to 2 devices at the same time, but you do have to pause on one device before you play on another. There's also a device list in the app.
Sorry again, Kevin. Just wanted to say you can't add another device using the app. You have to go into pairing mode by holding down on both buds. Okay man, take it away.
And the app only connects to one device at a time. And unfortunately, there's no pull connection. And finally, there's also a hearing test in the app. They call it the sound personalization feature. It checks your preferences for bass, strings, and drums at different volumes. At the end, you get a puck you can move around for fine tuning. Even after all that work, we prefer the stock sound. So the whole thing doesn't work well in our opinion. Denon is still the leader in this. There we had to do nothing. It was completely automatic and the outcome was better than the stock sound.
You're here, aren't you? Let's do the specs first and then we get into some graphs and my subjective experience. Now in terms of codecs, you get the whole shebang: AAC, aptX, aptX adaptive, lossless, the Snapdragon sound suite. You also get Auracast and LE audio. There is a ton of customization here. Kevin talked about the personalized hearing. There's also a 5-band EQ. These are fixed bands, mind you, and it's not parametric, but it is enough, I think, for most people that these buds are targeted to. There are 2 toggles, a bass boost and a podcast. Let's get to the sound. When we asked Sennheiser in CES at Vegas how different these were going to be to Gen 3, they stated that it was basically similar, except for some small tweaks in the treble. So we're going to show you a graph now. This is the Sennheiser Momentum 3 and this is the Momentum 4. So yeah, they weren't lying. So while yes, there's been a small tweak and that tweak manifests differently in different music, the bottom line is this: for all practical purposes, these two are identical. So we're not going to go into too much detail here. Check out a full review of the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 3 for that. Having said that, again, I think these buds sound good. I like the timbre for real instruments and you can do a reasonable bit with the 5-band EQ as long as you're not audiophiling your way through life. Once I turned that bass down a bit, I like these buds. And one thing they have fixed is the EQ shift from ANC on to ANC off. It's not audible and also didn't show up on these graphs. One thing I will say is that the Gen 3 does seem to reach a higher peak volume than the Gen 4. The Momentum 4s are not really quiet, but if peak volume is something you care about, then that might be something to consider. For context, the Sonys get marginally louder than the Momentum 4s as well. The Denons were way louder than the rest. At the end of the day, for me, these are good sounding wireless earbuds. But in terms of sound, are these my number 1 pick? Hard to say. I don't know what number 1 even means anymore, but I think I prefer the Denon Pearl Pro. There, I said it. You guys happy? There's a lot of comments about that. Sennheiser also hasn't gotten in on the whole hype train of spatialization or Dolby Atmos, so you don't get that out of the box. But it does talk about future-proofing in terms of reduction of its packaging footprint. It talks about built to last. Weirdly, it also includes IP54 in the built to last thing for the environment. I guess it makes sense. If your buds last longer, you'll buy fewer newer things and it's better for the environment. But how realistic is that with true wireless earbuds in the first place with non-user replaceable batteries? The batteries are going to run out of charge, and what do you do then? So are these worth buying? They're definitely an upgrade over the Momentum True Wireless 3. But Generation 3 did not have major issues with sound or ANC. No, the problems were related to reliability. One earbud dying is a story we saw constantly. Connectivity hiccups is something we faced. And these are the kind of problems that do not reveal themselves over a short review period. You need longer term use. So, are the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 4s worth buying? Well, just one word. Wait. Wait, because we don't know if the 4s will have reliability issues like the 3 did. Wait, because these are just too damn expensive right now. Wait, because Sennheiser's buds always tend to get discounted. And wait, because even though these buds are very good, they live in a market with many excellent products. Sennheiser, we'll see you in 6 months.
Okay guys, Sennheiser sent out these earbuds to us for review. But, as you'll discover, all our opinions and comments are our own. Sennheiser doesn't get any input on the content we make, and to be fair, unlike some other companies, never ask for it.
But that does not affect our opinion in any way, as you might have noticed. We want to be an independent review channel that's fun and informative. So we will never accept money from companies whose products we review or any kind of monetary compensation. So it's you guys who keep us going, really, the YouTube members and patrons, and all you wonderful people who support us by watching. And a special shout out to our Fakman tier members, Paula, Gamma Panda, and Hunter. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your support.
You've been maintaining momentum.
And we've been DHRME.
Dewey. We think...
What Sennheiser?
We think that...
Cycling here through...
We think...
The whole thing, it's not just one big conclusion at the end, but maybe there's a conclusion.
You've been gaining momentum. We think that Sennheiser knows you've been losing momentum.
But here's a taste of our popsicles, of our icicles, and of our test rides on the bike.